I still get goosebumps every time that plays. Like he did
I
such
love
like
that.
the greatest job on that. Right? Right? It's like
Yeah,
my favorite thing. I'll just like put it on and watch it.
I that was crazy. That was intense. I don't think I've ever caught your intro. So that wow, that was
Really?
insane. Yeah.
It's so yeah.
I'm always late and gay, you know?
That's because we get it from the guys.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
just follow their lead, you know?
That's how I've done it. This whole time I've known him. I've known Sean like 2 years now, close to that.
Oh,
And
God
he's
bless
rubbed
him.
off on
two
me. Yeah.
years?
Yep.
Oh boy. That's a long
Yeah.
time.
Well, he used to do his show with my ex-husband, so like that's how
Oh,
I
that
know
I've
him.
heard him talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, so that just goes right into it.
Yeah. So Scott says no
Oh,
sound.
no sound.
I know I can hear you and you can hear me.
I can hear you. Let's put a can hear us.
He says
Oh, he
refresh
refreshed.
sound now. Yep.
Come on,
We're good.
Mr. Scott, get with it.
Get with the times.
Get with the times. So you are on an early show for you, huh?
Oh yes, it is 8 o'clock Mountain Time, and I
See,
honestly
see, you guys hear how she said that? Mountain. There is no
Mountain.
random. Like, ignore the T, guys.
It's an apostrophe. It's not a T. Yep.
No, it's not really in there.
Yeah,
So
normally we'd be starting at 9, but I'm here with you tonight on a Friday. It's awesome.
you know, the older I get, this is like where I want to be on a Friday night, anyways.
I feel that. I so feel
I
that. It's like,
hate. I am like the most peoply, unpeoply person, if that makes sense. Like
yes,
I
I
love
get it.
people. I could literally talk to a fence post if it talked back. But in the same point, I just don't want to be around people all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, my job, I used to work at McDonald's in like the busiest mall in Salt Lake, and I did it for 3 years. And I got so peopled out that my current job, I've been there almost 10 years now. I don't have to talk to anyone at all, ever. I don't even
That's
like talk
amazing.
to my supervisor. It's just constant, just doing my own thing. And I love it.
That's amazing. That's how it was
Yeah.
at my last job. I went from construction to sales to even more sales, like the
Oh
most
no.
people job in the world. And then after that, I went to being the water meter reader for the town that I live in, where I basically just drove around in the little car with like the big antennas, like 3 miles per hour, just driving around town like a granny all day. And I didn't have to talk to anybody but myself. It was amazing. No
Yeah,
email
that's
address, nothing. It was
wow.
nice.
You've had an
Yeah.
interesting set of careers. I like that.
Yeah, I have been yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think. Yeah, it was construction, like customer servicey. I worked at Claire's. Do you ever remember Claire's?
I do. I got my daughter's ears pierced there. Yeah.
I pierced my daughter's ears. Yeah, I had the little piercing gun and everything. So
Yep.
I worked there, and then my cousin finally convinced me to go into sales because I was petrified. Did that for a long, 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 long time. I was really good at it, and then I just had enough of people. So there's that. So tonight, Gina is more interesting than from McDonald's to Fed.
Yes. From McDonald's to Fed. Yep. That's what happened. I've only had 2 jobs. You know, the government needed me.
Yeah, but you know what? They kind of go hand in hand. I mean, if you look at, Trump, you got McDonald's in one hand and the government in the other. Did you hear?
Valid
I heard
point.
something at the his thing that he had the other night that he served all of them like McDonald's in the back room.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I don't
great.
know if
Oh,
it's true or not, but that's what I heard.
I could see it.
Um,
Definitely.
that dude is obsessed with McDonald's. That's why I'm like, really picked, RFK Jr. Like he's gonna try to take, but then I'm hoping like everything goes back to like the beef tallow and all the like the deliciousness of that.
Yes.
That would
Yes.
be
I think when I worked there, it was some kind of vegetable oil that we used in the fryers. And yeah, but I mean, vegetarians can eat it, so whatever, but I don't know.
But don't they fry the chicken nuggets in the oil?
It's
I guess
different.
if you're a real hardcore, like, vegetarian, you wouldn't be eating at McDonald's anyway, so.
Yeah, no, they use different fryers because there's like the one in the front of the store for the fries, and then at least in my store, I don't know. I've only worked in one, so I don't know. But and then in the back is where all the like chicken and stuff goes. So it's all separated. So yeah,
Yeah, because and they cook the fish in it. So yeah, I guess it would have to be separate, huh?
yeah. The
Have
only
some
one that
calories.
I think, if I recall right, even the fish and the chicken ones were different. But it's been a very long time. I haven't worked there in 10 years.
I was 30 10 years ago. I hit that dirty 30.
I was 20 when I finally quit McDonald's. It's crazy.
You're such a baby.
No. Everyone says that,
You're
and then they find
so
out.
young.
The thing that throws everybody off is that my daughter's turning 11 next month.
Well, that's the same with me.
Yeah, I started young.
My son is 20.
No way. No way.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then I have a 14-year-old and an 11-year-old. So
that's awesome. No, I'm glad we've got that connection there. Cause yeah, I had my first kid at 18 and then I had another one at 19. And then I was like, I'm done having kids for a while.
Yep. I had 2 and I thought I was done. And then we had a big old surprise. Surprise. I was like, okay, this is happening. Here we go.
Wow. Yeah, my little one was the only one we planned, and he is in here right now. He just came in, even though he's not supposed to be in here because mom's streaming right now. Hey, cutie pie, you want to come say hi real quick?
Okay. Hi.
Okay. Say hi, Gina. You want to step in the shot so we can see your cute little face?
Hi.
Will you go with sister so I can do my thing, buddy? Thank you.
What's up, ETN?
Shaking bacon.
Sean, you're more than welcome if you wanna hop in.
Yeah, we can butter some sausage.
Hey, Candy, what's new? I missed prayer tonight. I was kind of sad, so I'll definitely have to catch that on replay because that's my favorite. So
thank you, Scott.
Now that everyone's coming, is that a Pizza Hut?
Pizza gut.
Pizza gut? Oh my God, I need it.
My mom got it for me when I was pregnant with my son because I had this big, huge gut. It was hilarious.
Dude, my husband called me a penguin when I was pregnant because I'm 4'11", and both my girls, when you looked at me from behind, you couldn't tell. And as soon as I turned around, it was like, like the laws of gravity were completely, and my feet size are a 5. Like, I don't know how I didn't just like tip over. Like, it was really, really crazy. Oh God. So tonight we do have a little more serious show than what we usually do here on my channel. But again, this is Mom's Mystery and Mayhem. So this is kind of tying in with the mom's portion of the show. So tonight I have my lovely friend over here, Miss Caitlin, who has her own absolutely fun podcast show on Thursday nights called The Last Meal Podcast, which is super fun. It's all about like death row inmates and what their last meals are. So it's really cool. So Katie, I'm going to let you go ahead and talk about your channel a little bit before we dive into the main topic.
Okay, so yeah, I have an actual podcast, an actual true crime podcast that comes out every Friday. If I don't get swamped and stressed, it comes out every Friday where I talk about death row stuff, like actual true crime cases. And then the Thursday show is where I just kind of hang out with the boys and we read articles sometimes. Sometimes Sean derails me and we don't read any articles.
No.
Yep.
No, I don't believe that.
Yeah, he's helped me out a lot. He made my intro and he kind of co-hosts with me sometimes, and we once in a while read news articles. And
I'm starting to realize that I think Sean is the slut of the group.
oh yeah, I didn't put that together until just now.
Yeah.
He gets
Sean's the
around.
easy one. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to use protection, Sean. You don't know what other shows have that, you might catch.
Oh God. All right. So tonight, Katie is here to kind of spread some knowledge, spread some. I know, ETN, I do it all the time. I'm sorry, but just stick around. I promise. We'll still keep it light and fun and airy. I promise. But Katie is here to kind of push a very important matter to light. So I'm going to let you kind of take off and explain what your main goal is here. And then I'll bring up the petition. So if you guys can see right above us where the logo is, there's a QR code. If you could please scan that QR code, and that's going to bring you to a petition that Katie is going to explain.
Yeah, so I guess I kind of got to give a little backstory, and I'm going to try to keep it concise because this thing happened to me in 2021 that has like completely destroyed my life. And so my son, who turns 4 at the end of the month, he was born in March of 2021, and he was about a month old when I went back to work. And so when I went back to work, I work nights. Hence, why I'm drinking coffee at 8:15 p.m. I went to work the first night back after a month, everything was fine. The second night back, my ex was texting me, my now ex-husband, we were still happily married at the time. He texts me the whole night telling me there's something wrong with the baby. He won't stop crying. He won't eat, all this. And I have anxiety and I panicked the entire 8 hours I was at work. So I finally got home at around 6 o'clock the next morning. And I walk in here and he's sitting there with my son, like laying across his lap, and he's bouncing his knee, which always like threw me off. It's like, what are you doing? That's a newborn baby. And he just hands him to me and he says, I need to sleep. So if you could take him, that would be great. And then he went to bed. I held my son for about like 10 seconds, looked at him, and I'm like, there is something wrong. I don't know what's wrong, but mom intuition, we all have it. I knew because he can't say anything. He's only a month old, but I knew there was something wrong with him. And I tried to fix it myself. I got him a warm bath because he was cold. So I thought maybe that'll warm him up. And then I tried to feed him a bottle and he just puked it back up. And I'm like, it's hospital time. I thankfully live like there's one highway exit away is the hospital. It takes me like 2 minutes to drive there. So I didn't call an ambulance. I just did it myself. I'm like, let's get there right now because something's wrong. And they told me he's anemic, which means either he's got like a blood thing or he's got an internal injury. And so they transferred me from the hospital out here. I live on the southwestern edge of Salt Lake County. So I had to go all the way to the other end of the valley. It's a 45-minute drive to go to the hospital that could take care of my son better because they're equipped for it. And we get up there and all this, and hours later, this doctor walks in and she goes, did he fall off of anything? And I said, no. And they told me that he had brain injuries and severe ones. He had 2 in the back.
Did your heart just sink?
I got tunnel vision really bad. Like
that woozy feeling in your ears and your head.
Yes. Ugh. Yes, I had like an instant panic attack because the whole night I was at work, I never told the cops this, and thank you, Sean. I probably should have, but the whole time I was at work, I was in my head and I'm like, the worst happened. My ex did something to my baby. And I didn't want to believe that, but I had a feeling. And then they tell me he's got a brain injury. And I'm like, it's real. And then I'm like, no, there's got to be something else. It had to be something else. And then, oh man, I'm starting to have a little bit of PTSD about it. I'm sorry.
That's a little while later. Take your breath. If you need me to take over, just let me know and I'll read the petition.
Yeah, we're good. We're getting into the real scary part of this. So he finally shows up to the hospital. It was like 5 p.m. when he got there, somewhere around there. I don't remember. We were in the hospital all day, and the worst part was I just worked an overnight shift. I hadn't slept at all. So by the time the cops showed up, I had been awake for over 24 hours. And
Ugh.
the stress, and the West Jordan cops walk in and they just look at me and they're like, "We're going to talk to you first." And then I panic because I'm not a huge fan of cops. I don't hate them so much now, but they just make me nervous. And so I got questioned and they're like, "Did he do anything to Xerxes, my son?" And I said, "I don't know. I was at work. As far as I know, no, but there was one other time when he got very short with my little baby Xerxes when he was changing his diaper." And so, I probably should have left when that happened, but I didn't because I'm kind of an idiot sometimes. And yeah, so anyway, they accused my ex of shaking my son. He had, like I said, he had two brain injuries in the back, one in the front, and he also had a broken shoulder. And I know the broken shoulder was not from his birth because my daughter, when she was born, she was like almost 11 pounds and they had to break her shoulder to get her out. Yeah, I felt her through the epidural. It was horrible.
Oh.
But yeah, so I knew then that something was wrong. And I didn't find out until later because in the process of getting a divorce and all of this, went back in and went over the medical records again, and I went over the police report. And I guess in the police report for this incident, my ex admitted that he probably broke my son's shoulder. And he wouldn't admit to shaking him. He fought it. He fought it very hard. And in the beginning, because you're forced into this situation and it's like there's no way that the man I married would hurt my baby. There's no way, right? It doesn't work that way. So I didn't believe either side. I was like, someone show me some evidence. And I went over all my son's medical records and all of this stuff, and it was so confusing because he had the cord wrapped around his neck when he was born, and a doctor told me that might be part of the problem, but we're not going to go with that. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know who to believe. So in the beginning, I stood by my ex-husband because, he wouldn't do that. There was no way. There had to be another explanation for it. And I know now that there wasn't. But so I fought for him. And I've always said it's a really good thing that I was stupid and I didn't believe the cops, because if I did believe the cops, I would have come home and shot him. I would
Yeah.
have. Yeah. I had no problem doing that. And I told my ex to his face, I came home and I stood in the doorway and I just looked at him and I'm like, if you did this, you're on borrowed time. And he's like, I didn't do this. And then they didn't charge him until December with the child abuse, because I don't know what they were trying to do as far as building the case goes, because they had everything they needed. The state of Utah, I've come to find out recently that the state of Utah likes to just stand around scratching their ass instead of dealing with their court stuff. So, yeah, so he was charged in December. He took a plea deal. He was going to take it to trial and fight it. And he put several, like 20 grand into a lawyer, tried everything. And even the expert witness he tried to get said, there's not a good likelihood I can prove your innocence because it doesn't look like you're innocent. And so eventually the state offered him a plea deal without coming to me first, which I was a little upset about because, I'm my son's voice. I'm the only one here for him. And they offered him 3 years probation. They would drop it from a misdemeanor or from a felony to a misdemeanor. And he'd do 10 hours of community service. And I think he had a small couple $100 fine. And so he took the plea deal and he pled guilty. And then, fast forward, he pled guilty in, I want to say June of 2023. So it took that long to get the legal side of all of this handled. And then fast forward a little bit more to April of last year. We separated in January of last year, but we were still living together because he chased off all my family. He had somewhere to go, but he wasn't willing to just let me keep the house until he moved out of state, because that was his plan. He was going to finish out his probation and leave, and we were going to get divorced and all that, because he was cheating on me. That's irrelevant to this story, but it's kind of an important detail, because what ended up happening is we got drunk one night in April of last year, and I confronted him about cheating on me because tequila gives me some pretty big balls. So I confronted him about that, and he admitted to it, and he called me fat to my face. And then I said something about him being a terrible father, because at the time he really was. He was never here with the kids. He was always off with that stripper. It was like, I just called him out on everything he'd been doing, all the shit he was doing. I called him out, and then he got mad and he called me fat. And I said, all I have to do is make one phone call to your probation officer and your life is over, because he had guns in the house. Things were so bad that I started carrying my handgun in the house again, because I was worried he was going to shoot me. Things were really bad. And so I ended up calling the cops that night, and they took him. His probation officer showed up the next morning around like 7-8 o'clock. They found all the guns and the ammo and everything, and they arrested him. And then he bailed out. He got recharged with the felony child abuse, and he bailed out. And then he violated the protective order that I got almost immediately. He was only out for like 2 days before he violated it. And so they rearrested him. And I'm sorry, I haven't been watching the chat, so I'm not like trying to ignore anybody. This whole situation just makes my brain go crazy. And so they rearrested him. He's been in jail since May 9th of last year is when they picked him up the second time. So he got recharged with the child abuse. That's a felony. He also got federal gun charges, which he will be sentenced for in about 10 days. But the reason for this petition, now that I've talked for 20 minutes about this whole nonsense, the reason for this petition is the sentence that my ex-husband got for the child abuse. And I want you all to keep in mind, at no point did my opinion on the situation matter. The mother of the victim of this horrible thing that my ex did. They gave him a year in jail. And if you look at the sentencing guidelines in Utah for a second-degree felony, which is what it was, aggravated child abuse is a second-degree felony, apparently. The guidelines, it's a minimum of 1 to 15 in prison, not county jail. And he got a year in the county jail. And he will be going to federal prison. I already talked to the prosecutor, so he will be getting at least another year in federal prison for the gun charges. But isn't that a little strange how having guns while you're on probation gets you the same sentence as shaking a newborn baby? Is that just, am I crazy, or like?
That's disgusting.
It really is. My brother
No,
did
you're
more
not
time
crazy. And
is your internet? Oh, are you lagging? Am I lagging? Somebody's lagging.
yeah, no,
I
it's
can't
me. It's
see.
my internet. My internet is
You're good.
completely horrible.
You're good. Yeah, no, my brother's not the best example of a good citizen, but he did more time for a burglary than my ex did for the child abuse. And I think that's insane. So I am trying to, I don't know exactly what I'm trying to do. I got a wild hair up my ass one day, and I decided I'm going to start a petition to get the sentencing guidelines changed, because a year in jail for nearly killing a baby. They told me that had I not left for the hospital when I did, my son would have died, because my ex didn't take him. I had to do it when I got home from work. And so I'm trying to get my politicians in this great state, this great salt desert I live in, to change things around, because in addition to my situation, and this was insane to me. So just the other day, like a week ago, my grandma texted me and told me that my high school best friend had an identical situation happen, where her son was left home with the baby's dad, and he shook him. And he's in a lot worse shape than my son is, because the abuse had been going on for a while. Their baby's like 7 months old. But when my grandma told me that, I started to panic, because it was like, they're just going to offer him a plea deal more than likely. He admitted to it, though. He admitted to being a child abuser, whereas my ex didn't. He fought it. And yeah, so I really want harsher sentences for people who do stuff like this, because it's insane to me that trafficking drugs in the state of Utah will get you more time than hurting a baby. I
Now,
just,
how is he today?
oh,
Your
my
son?
son, my sweet little Xerxes, he's doing so much better than they ever expected. He's in
That's
like special
awesome.
preschool because of the brain injury, but you wouldn't know anything happened to him unless I told you, because he's super smart. He can read a couple words. He knows all his letters. He still won't use the toilet, but I've been told that boys take a little longer for that. Um,
Do.
Oh, sorry, I didn't catch the mute button for that cough. But yeah, he's so great. He's got a little bit of an attitude, but I think it's kind of just the age. Like I said, he turns 4 at the end of the month, and he's great though. He's doing amazing in school. He's really social. They told me he was basically gonna be a potato, and he is not. So thankfully, my son got the care he needed. I have been the one doing all the like extra doctor appointments because he has to see a brain injury doctor and stuff. It's all fallen on my shoulders, and I don't mind at all because I'd do anything for that little boy. But it's, yeah, a year in jail for shaking a baby and almost killing him, and that needs to
I'm
change.
I'm convinced that people as like not, obviously like us and stuff like that, but the world is just full of evil, and it's our kids. They don't care about the kids, and it's sad, and people are starting to wake up to this, and I think it's a really great, you know, time for this to come out, for you to, push it even further than you can go, get it out there, spread the word. And if you could please share the link that I have pinned up there. Also, again, I will let you guys know up top where the little logo usually is the QR code that you can scan to also sign it. So if you're on, if we're on the TV, hi, go ahead and click that, and you can scan it and sign. And please share on all of your, socials, all your platforms, even if you know people that aren't on, send them a message, send them a text, whatever you can, just to get this word out. I know this is just for Utah, but this is probably just the first stop, and who knows how far this can kind of go. So look at how adorable he is right there with his little binky and the blankie. I think they have
I
like the same
can't.
blanket for like all
Yeah,
of little babies.
yeah, they they do. I have hospital blankets from 3 different hospitals, and all of them were the same. It's crazy. I can't see the petition if you have it pulled up. It's not showing up
Oh,
for me.
really?
Yeah. I see that we're both off to the
Interesting.
side now, but I can't see it. So, can any of y'all in the chat see it? Um, sorry, I'm
I
still
do
getting
see
over
it here.
bronchitis.
So it's a little weird.
Okay,
I don't
yeah,
know
I
why
just
you
can't
can't
see it.
see that.
That's crazy.
Interesting. So there he is. Yep, they all see it. Look how cute his little face and his little nose is. My son
That's
had a mohawk too.
Yep. Yep. He had a mohawk and then he grew his hair out. He won't let me cut his hair. I've cut it one time and I gave him a little faux hawk again because he had that mohawk until his hair was too long. Like it's just a natural mohawk. It was the cutest thing. I love it.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do, I know it's probably gonna be weird for you, Katie, but since you can't see it, but what I'm gonna do is I am going to read the petition.
Okay.
So again, this is going to be a tough, a tough read. I do get emotional. You guys have seen that on other streams. So just putting a forewarning out there, if this is a tough issue for you, we do understand if you need to take a break or you need to leave. Again, if you could just sign that petition before you do, it would be greatly appreciated. So I am starting this petition to raise the penalties for child abuse for one reason and one reason only. A year in jail is not harsh enough sentence for nearly killing a baby. After I get through this legal mumbo jumbo, I will tell you my story and explain my feelings on this issue. According to Utah Code Section 76 5 109, child abuse is defined as the act of inflicting physical injury upon a child in a person's custody or causing/allowing another person to do so. As with any crime, there are different factors that determine the degree which a person can be charged. Below is the list of the different degrees of child abuse and their penalties. So you have Class C, a misdemeanor, child abuse done with criminal negligence, which is only up to 90 days in jail and or a fine of $750. Class B, misdemeanor, child abuse done recklessly, up to 6 months in jail and or a fine of $1,000. Class A, misdemeanor, child abuse done intentionally or knowingly, is up to 365 days. Guys, that's 1 year. You guys all know the math. And or a fine of $2,500, meaning they may not even have to serve in jail. They can just pay the fine. That is
Yes.
disgusting, and it makes me sick to my stomach.
I gotta cut in right here because when I wrote the petition, I screwed up a little bit because this is all for misdemeanor child abuse. I forgot to add the felony stuff on here. So what my ex was charged with was a second-degree felony because it's aggravated child abuse. And I think I go into it a little bit in here. I can't remember for sure, but aggravated child abuse is anything that has like internal damage, or if you break a bone, like the big crazy stuff that can happen, which is what happened to my son. So he was not charged with a misdemeanor, thank God. But
Good.
it's crazy to me, but when I started looking into this, that you can abuse a child and do just 90 days in jail. It's insane.
That's disgusting. I've seen people get more time in jail for jaywalking.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like that, insane. I am here today asking for your help because my son was a victim of aggravated child abuse at the hands of his father. My little boy entered this world on March 30th. Oh, his birthday's coming.
Yep.
That's exciting.
Yep.
On March 30th, 2021, after I suffered 2 miscarriages. He is my double rainbow baby. I took a month off from work to bond with him and make sure everything was in place for when I did return to my job, which I'm glad some companies now are offering different maternity leaves. The United States is the worst when it comes to maternity leave. Most places around the world, they get a year paid maternity leave with up to 2 years at half pay. Here, I think when I first had my son, I think it was 6 weeks for a natural/vaginal delivery. Mm-hmm. And I believe it was like 8 weeks for a cesarean.
That's insane.
Insane. Yeah, it's disgusting.
I could take, I think they gave me the option of up to 6 months, but with my work, you have to have sick leave to cover it or you don't get paid. And I only had a month of sick leave. So I just took as much time as I could, and then I had to go back because somebody had to pay the bills. At the time, my ex worked at the same place as me, and he took paternity leave, and he was off work for like 3 months total. And his was unpaid the whole time. So after my son was born, the only reason we were able to pay the bills is because my sick leave was coming in.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So you made sure everything was in place for when you did return back to your job. Mm-hmm. The second night I was back at work, May 2nd, 2021, my ex-husband was texting me nonstop about how the baby wouldn't take a bottle or stop crying. This went on for about 10 p.m. until I got home from work around 6:30 the next morning. I was in complete panic the entire time I was at work, but didn't think they'd let me go home to check on things. When I did arrive home, my ex handed my son to me and said, I need to sleep, so if you could take him, that would be great. I knew immediately that something was seriously wrong. My sweet little boy was cold, breathing weird, and crying in a very odd way. It wasn't a, hey, I'm hungry, where's my bottle cry. He was in pain. Even at a month old, I knew my son very well. I wasn't fully understanding that something serious might have happened, so I did everything I could think of to try to help him feel better. I got him a warm bath and made him a bottle. He was still cold and threw up everything I tried feeding him. I knew it was time to go to the hospital. I initially drove to the hospital closest to me, which is about 3 minutes away by car. I wasn't about to wait for an ambulance. Initial tests done on my son showed that he was anemic. The doctors explained that this can either be caused by a blood disease or some kind of internal bleeding. They transferred me up to primary children's where they were better equipped to handle such a small child. Hours went by and more tests were done. I vividly recall sitting in the ER with my baby all bundled up in a hospital blanket. Another doctor came in and informed me that my sweet little man had a brain injury. He would have died had I not have taken him to the hospital when I did. My response was very panicked. Oh my God. And my eyes immediately darted back to my sleeping son. She then asked, is there any way he could have fallen? I paused for what felt like an eternity, scouring my memory for any incident that may have happened. There wasn't one. No, this is the moment where I started to realize what had happened. My intuition was yelling at me at night to just go home and check, but I didn't listen. When she finally left the room, I frantically messaged my ex and asked him what happened that could have caused a brain injury. He said nothing happened. He didn't know. A CT scan and x-rays had been performed on my son to see how bad things were. It was discovered that he had bilateral subdurals, contusions, and you may have to help me with this one, subarachnoid hemorrhage. Did I say that right?
I muted myself. I think it's subarachnoid. The
Subarachnoid.
letters are really small on my screen, so I can't read it.
Hemorrhage and a fractured scapula. This was consistent with non-accidental trauma, and it was decided that DCFS and the police needed to be called. The moment I saw those West Jordan police officers walk into my son's hospital room, my soul left my body. There was no way this was real. No way the man I married would do something like this. A protective order was put in place and everything about my life changed. I was in denial, even with all the facts in front of me. I could not reconcile with the fact that this man, who I called my soulmate, had done anything to hurt our baby. It took me a long time to come to grips with that. The state charged my ex with second-degree felony abuse in December of 2021. They alleged that he shook him in a fit of rage after dealing with his cries for a period of time. He was set to go to trial in June of 2023. I think I always knew he was guilty. I just couldn't fully accept it. I was called as a witness for the prosecution, but didn't end up testifying. The state offered him a plea deal. The charge would be reduced from a felony to a misdemeanor. He'd get 3 years probation and 10 hours of community service for nearly killing a month-old baby and then handing to me when I got home instead of taking him to the hospital. Is your blood boiling yet? Fast forward to April of 2024. My ex was not abiding by the terms of his probation, and I had enough of watching him laugh in the face of the justice system for the second time. That's another story, but I'm trying to keep this as concise as I can.
Mm-hmm.
I turned him in for violating his probation. This meant that he was recharged with his felony on top of a probation violation. He was arrested, and I took out a protective order. After getting bailed out, he immediately violated the protective order and was arrested again. I was in touch with Deputy DA in this case and made it very clear that I wanted to write a victim impact statement and read it in court. I wanted my feelings to be known. My son had just barely turned 3 at the time and didn't know what happened to him. I am his voice in all of this. At one of the first hearings, the state was supposed to show their evidence. I was told by the deputy DA that I didn't need to be at this hearing and that he'd be sentenced at a later date. Unfortunately for me, my ex admitted to the probation violation and was sentenced that day. According to the Utah Code, a second-degree felony carries between 1 to 15 years in prison. My ex was given 1 year in the county jail for nearly killing my son in a fit of rage. My little boy is thriving now. He's super smart, very affectionate, and doing a million times better than any of the doctors thought he would. I am grateful for that. Throughout the last 4 years, the responsibility of taking my son to his extra doctor's appointments and special preschool tests have fallen solely on my shoulders. I've been the one dealing with the consequences of my ex's actions. It's been a long, difficult journey, but we have pulled through. My intention was to ask the judge for at least 3 years in prison because that was the amount of time I had been stuck in the prison. That was my mind trying to deal with all of this. And I never got that chance. My case is done and dealt with. There is nothing we can do that will extend my ex-husband's sentence. My goal is to prevent future parents thrust into this nightmare from being subjected to unnecessary light sentences. I'm here today to ask you all for your help in changing the law on the books to add harsher sentences for child abuse. Children are the most innocent among us, and those who cause them harm should be slapped with a much severe penalty. A year in jail is not enough. I am working on a letter to our local politicians that address this issue. I'm hoping that maybe a petition with enough signatures would help get their attention. Thank you for reading my story.
Mm-hmm. And as of right now, I wrote to I don't know what his title is. He's in the House of Representatives, Representative Ken Ivory. I wrote him a letter, and then I wrote a letter to our senator. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. I'm thinking about also writing the governor and Congress, and like, I don't know. I'm just a night shift zombie with a murder podcast and a couple of kids, but like, I'm trying to do something. We got to change this.
Yeah, when I first met you, and I kind of heard like blips and bleeps of, the story, and I could tell when, people kind of brought it up, you would kind of like glaze over and shut down, and then never really heard much about it. And then when you had this petition come out, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is something I can help you with. You know what I mean? Like, and I want everybody in the chat to know, anybody watching, anybody on replay watching, Katie, you know this now. If you ladies, gentlemen, whatever you want to call yourself, if you need somebody to talk to, please reach out. I am a safe person. You can talk to me about anything. I am very open. I'm very honest. Sometimes you may not like what I say because it may be the truth, and sometimes the truth hurts, but I will still be there and I will help you through everything. And this petition, seeing this, I was like, I can use my platform to help get this out even further. And I'm hoping by doing that, we can. I know when I first looked at this, when we went live, before we went live, I think we were at like 90 petitioners had signed it. And I want to just take a look now, because I know when I signed it for you, I think I was like in the 50s. We're up to 97. So we have 7 more signatures. I'm sure it kind of takes a little time for it to, because they have to verify all the signatures and stuff like that. So I want to thank you guys. It's really not that hard. It takes a few seconds to do it. Share it. Post it, scream it. If you want to post it in your local newspaper, by all means, do it, please.
Yes.
It's time to protect the children. I've known guys who've gone to jail for lesser crimes for longer times. You know what I mean? And it's not fair to the children. It's not fair to the parents that have to deal with the repercussions of what bad parents do. And it's not just men that do it. It's mothers. It's a very serious, crime, and a harsh penalty, and needs to be brought to, and this also goes in ties with, mental disabilities, mental health, on the separate side of mothers that do these to their children with, postpartum depression. It's a
Mhm.
real thing, and I have 3 kids. It's hard. You know what I mean? I breastfed 2 of my girls, and you know, my husband couldn't feed them during the middle of the night. Would he get up? Yeah, he would rub my back. But those first months of even just waking up and them crying and you nursing them, you're tired, you're crying, they're crying, you don't know what you're doing, they don't know what it's overwhelming. And I
Yes.
can see how it can be frustrating. And there are times as parents, even as babysitters, watching your little siblings or your cousins, when babies cry and you can't console them, it is frustrating. It is
Yes.
hard. It is heartbreaking. It is gut wrenching. And my doctor said if it gets hard and you don't have anybody at home to hand them off to, put them in their crib where they're safe, shut the door. And if you need to go outside so you can't hear them for 10, 15 minutes, they'll be okay.
Yep. Set the baby down and walk.
Don't be afraid. Put the baby down. Put the
Mhm.
baby down, walk away, take a break. And if in those 15 minutes you haven't cooled off, pick up a phone.
Yes.
Pick up the phone. You've had a life. If you need help, get help, because you're going to ruin your life and you're going to ruin their life, and it's not okay. You know, it's a big deal. And I'm glad we can hopefully maybe push this through even further. And you guys don't have to have a baby that has been affected by this or know anybody that's been affected by this. If you want to go and start your own petition in your own town for harsher crimes and
Mhm.
I mean for harsher penalties on these crimes, this is your chance to stand up for those who don't have a voice. There are lots of kids that are in those situations that don't have parents or family that can stick up for them, or kids that are in the system that don't have anybody to back them up. This is something we can do to help, you know?
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, so ETN in the chat. Um, I've struggled with this since it happened because I always knew he was guilty. Like deep down, I always did. I just couldn't come to grips with it. It's like one of those things you don't know until it happens to you, because there was no way the man I married did that, but he's not the man I married anymore. That man died. He's gone. He's that soul that he had is gone. I don't know if he ever actually had one, but I feel awful for that, but I am taking steps now to prevent him from getting any custody when the divorce is finalized. I hope the judge in my divorce case can see what a problem he is, because what I also didn't mention is the first time he got probation, he committed domestic violence against me, and he got locked up, and he took a plea deal on that one and got probation. He finished out his probation. My dumb ass stayed with him. Um, you don't realize that it's abuse until you're looking at it from a different point of view, because sometimes they're just that's just how they are, and I feel very, very stupid a lot of the time for the way I handled things, but I'm I'm trying to make up for that, I guess. I don't know, but unfortunately, I found this out later. Because he finished out his probation for the DV, the case no longer can be used against him because all the stuff was dismissed. So the only thing that shows up on his record anymore is the child abuse and the gun charges and the DUI that he got on my birthday a couple years ago. And um, yeah,
No, love is blind, huh? Those
yes,
red flags. Sean was explaining that the other day, that there's reason they say love is blind. I mean,
yes.
that would
Well,
have to be the hardest thing, you know what I mean? When I first read this, and I'm like, if that ever happened, like, you know what I mean? Like, it could happen at any time. on either side. I could go crazy in 5 years. Who knows? You know what I mean? Or, it's crazy to think of. Like, I've been with my husband, gosh, 23 years. A
What?
long time. Yeah, yeah.
That's
It
crazy.
was funny when people ask me like, "Oh, you have 3 kids?" Like when I was like younger and they were younger, and I'm like, "Yes, all by the same baby daddy. I met him when I was 19."
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes. Um, so love is love. Love is also blind. Yes, yes,
Love is
yes.
also brain dead apparently because I was with him off and on for 12 years. We're still legally married, but we're coming up on 7 years of being married, and I it took me until like mid late 2022 to finally accept that he is the way he is. Um, it makes us all blind, and then he started cheating, and that's when I realized that this he was gone. The man I married was dead, is because the whole time we were married he was adamant that he would never ever cheat. He doesn't believe in that, it's immoral, all of this. And then he started doing it and he changed, and it was like the mask came off. You can Narcissists have this way about them, and those of us who are naive will fall for it. And then when the mask finally does come off, it's like you get hit with a new ton of bricks every day. It's it's rough, but I I finally did. I was the reason that he got arrested again and finally has to face up to what he was doing, because when he was on probation for the child abuse, he was drinking all the time. So he was on two kinds of probation. He had the DUI probation, because he got a DUI on my birthday and he took a plea deal on that, and they dropped the gun charge and all that. So he was on that probation, and then he was on regular probation. And the whole time he was off getting drunk, would never come home. He was sleeping in his car, all the time, doing a bunch of drugs. He was out doing cocaine in the desert in Tooele. And yeah, and I finally was like, I'm not going to let you get away with this anymore. This is insane. And yeah, so now he has a new home in the Salt Lake County Jail, and then in about 10 days, he will be sentenced for his big boy charges. And I don't know what prison they're sending him to, because we don't have a federal institution in Utah. So they're going to be shipping him off out of state. And Chris.
Jonathan Scott. Jonathan Scott, we are talking about Miss Caitlin. Her son was a victim of shaken baby syndrome by her now ex-husband. And he only he pleaded out. They offer him a plea deal. He got 3 years probation with what you said, 10 hours of community service.
Yes.
And the only reason he went to jail was because he broke his probation.
Mm-hmm.
So we are here, Jonathan, with a petition. So if you see up there, there's a little QR code that you can scan. Also, I pinned in the chat the website that you can go to sign the petition for harsher sentencing, for to get justice for these poor children that have no voice, that we have to fight for. I didn't mean to cut you off, but we had a few people
fine.
new that, so we're just reiterating it a little bit better. So the next thing, did you want to say a few more things? I'm going to, what up, Caitlin, not Katie.
Yeah, they call me Katie because they know it drives me nuts, because that's what my dad's side of the family calls me. And
I didn't know. Why haven't you said anything?
because every time I say something, they just keep doing it worse. It's all good. I don't mind too much. No,
I will start calling you Caitlin.
No, you're fine. Call me whatever you want. I also respond to "Hey you" with the metal in your face. Like, it's all good. But yeah, Chris made a comment a second ago that to be fair, he never should have called her fat. He and others have found out the hard way that that's a terrible idea. And Sean will point out that of the two men who have called me fat to my face, both of them went to jail the same night. And I only called the cops on one of them. So don't call me fat, because you'll go to jail.
Oh, Betty, you can call me out. Call me out. Sorry.
Is that
See,
I
we'll
don't
make
watch
it a little
TV,
bit light for
so
you guys.
yeah, I don't watch
Um,
TV, so what's that from?
it's a song. Baby, you can call me when you. It's a song.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
know the name of it. I am terrible. I can't tell you names of songs or who sings them. Majority of them. Um, but once like a little like bloop comes out, somehow it like activates a weird sleeper cell in my brain. That's like, hey, song lyrics. But I
Chris says
can't
it's a
remember
Paul
what I had
Simon
for breakfast
song.
yesterday. There we go.
Okay. Yeah.
Slide that mic
I'm
closer to you, Caitlin.
why? It's fine. Like, if I get it any closer, I'm gonna be like eating it. I have to put it back when I record my actual podcast because it picks up like every little tiny pop and click, and it drives me nuts.
I don't know if you guys, I was going to see if I can do this. My daughter, I don't know if you can see her back. She's lying with the dog in the dog bed. Emma, raise your hand and say hi. Can you see her back there? She's back there. But all right. So the next thing that I wanted to do real quick was just kind of go over the different signs, symptoms of shaken baby syndrome for any mothers, fathers, caregivers, anybody out there who or babysitters that take care of kids to look for the signs, look for the symptoms, because you never know. You could be next to your best friend for all that you've known your whole life that you would never think would do anything like this. And the mind is a powerful tool. And if it goes crazy hard.
Mhm.
So these signs and symptoms are definitely something that everybody should be aware of and know. So we're going to go ahead and bring that up. Katie, let me know if you can see it this time.
I got the petition to come up eventually. I don't know what was going on, but I muted my mic so I could cough, and then it showed up. So I'm gonna try that. Oh, there we go. Okay, it actually showed up this time. So yes, I can read that.
Yay! All right. So the shaken baby syndrome is a serious brain injury that results from forcefully shaking an infant or a toddler. It's also known as abusive head trauma, shaken impact syndrome, inflicted head injury, or whiplash shaking infant syndrome. Shaken baby syndrome can damage or destroy a child's brain cells. This form of child abuse can cause permanent brain damage or death. Shaken baby syndrome is preventable. Help is available for parents who are at risk of harming their child. Parents can also teach other caregivers about the dangers of shaken baby syndrome. So, the symptoms of shaken baby syndrome include extreme fussiness or irritability, difficulty staying awake, breathing problems, poor eating, vomiting, pale or discolored skin, seizures, paralysis, or coma. While sometimes a child may have bruising on the face, you may not see signs of physical injury to the child's outer body. Injuries that may not be seen immediately may include bleeding in the brain and eyes, spinal cord damage, fractures of the ribs, skulls, legs, or other bones. Children with shaken baby syndrome often show symptoms of prior child abuse. In mild cases of shaken baby syndrome, children may appear okay after being shaken, but they may develop health or behavioral problems over time. Seek help right away if you suspect your child has been injured by a violent shaking. Call 911 or your local emergency number or take your child to the nearest emergency room. Getting medical care right away may save your child's life or prevent serious health problems. Healthcare professionals are legally required to report all suspected cases of child abuse to state authorities. This line here, guys, please do not let that intimidate you. If you suspect it in any way, go. Even if you are responsible, man up, Take responsibility for your actions and give that baby a fighting chance, please.
Mhm.
Um, Causes. Babies have weak neck muscles and can't support the weight of their heads. If a baby is forcefully shaken, their brain moves back and forth inside the skull, causing bruising, swelling, and bleeding. Shaken baby syndrome usually occurs when a parent or caregiver, and it could be anybody, it could even be a school or a daycare,
Mhm.
grandparents, aunts, uncles, you don't know. But it is when the baby is shaken due to frustration or anger of the caregiver. It often happens because the child won't stop crying. Shaken baby syndrome is not caused by bouncing your child on your knee or minor falls. Risk factors. These things may increase the risk that parents or caregivers might forcefully shake a baby and cause shaken baby syndrome. Having an unrealistic expectation of babies. Guys, babies are hard. Babies are fun. Babies are stressful. If you do not fare well in stressful situations, having a baby is going to exasperate that even more. So prepare for that. And if you need help, again, help is out there. Reach out for it, please. Having a baby that cries uncontrollably. I was a colic baby. I cried, my mother said, for the first year and a half of my entire life.
That was my
Never
daughter too.
stopped.
Yep. It's
Yep.
hard, but you gotta set the baby down and walk away. That's how I got through it because my daughter, it wasn't just a year and a half. She cried from birth until she was about 3. And it wasn't like a normal cry. She had this like extra high pitched that would like hit
Yep.
my ear weird. And so it was like I gotta just set her down and walk away for a minute because yep.
I still cry. I'm 40 years old and I still cry.
Me
I'm not
too.
afraid to admit it. Having a baby born prematurely or with medical needs, um, being young or a single parent,
Mhm.
stress, domestic violence, alcohol or substance misuse, unstable family situations, depression, and a history of mistreatment as a child. Also, men are more likely to severely shake a baby hard enough to cause shaken baby syndrome more than women. I have also, now reading some of these, have also heard, which is just heartbreaking because kids don't know any better, but of siblings also causing these types of, um, you know, situations in their younger siblings as well.
Yep.
So just be aware, watch your other children. Your baby, if they're not, they shouldn't be left alone by themselves at all. And especially with younger children, children don't know any better. Um, so just be aware of the situation. Um, Complications. Even brief shaking of an infant can cause brain damage that can't be reversed. Many children affected by shaken baby syndrome may require lifelong medical care for conditions such as partial or total blindness, delayed development, trouble with learning and behavior, seizures or epilepsy, cerebral palsy, or a disorder that affects movement and muscle coordination. Um, I'm not going to really read too much of this. Oh, actually, that's kind of it. So I will just read it real quick. So, prevention. A new parent education class can help parents understand the dangers of violent shaking. Classes also may provide tips to soothe a crying baby and manage stress. When your crying baby cannot be calmed, you may be tempted to try to get anything to get those tears stops. Trust me, I've been there.
Mhm.
But it is important to always treat your child gently. Nothing, absolutely nothing justifies shaking a child. And if anything, if you're frustrated because that baby is crying, you shaking that baby is only going to intensify that child crying.
Mhm.
If you're having trouble managing your emotions or the stress of parenthood, seek help. Your child's healthcare professional may offer a referral to a counselor or other mental health professionals. Just because you are having these type of feelings does not mean they're going to take your child away. Just remember that. And if they do, then it may be warranted and needed for your safety and the baby's safety, and it's better for everybody involved. If you have other people taking care of your child, make sure they know the dangers of shaken baby syndrome. These people may include hired caregivers, siblings, or grandparents.
Something I forgot to mention, I guess, because there's just so many moving parts to this whole thing. So when my daughters were born, me and my ex were not together. We were together once in a while for a night or two. And that's, how it happened. So I was raising them by myself. He didn't really have a lot of experience with a baby. He was around my oldest when she was born for a little while, off and on, because we weren't together. That whole situation is just a disaster. But so when I was pregnant with my son, we were trying to have a baby. And when I got pregnant with him, I'm like, look, I know you don't have a whole lot of experience dealing with this. And my daughter Arian was seriously, the screaming and crying just was constant for way too long. So I knew how to deal with it. I know that you just set them in the crib, have a minute, and then come back when you calm down. But I drilled that into my ex's head. I was like, look, he's going to cry and you're going to have to just learn how to deal with it. And he's like, yeah, I can do it. It'll be fine. It was not fine, obviously. Oof, sorry. Forgot to hit the cough button.
That's okay.
Yeah, I was a young mom and a young single mom at that, 18 when I had my first one. And it's stressful and it's hard and you get lots of headaches because of the crying. My oldest was the easiest baby, which is crazy because she turned out to be like psychotic as a child, but she was the easiest newborn, like barely cried at all. And, it was super easy to deal with. And then my second one was born and total opposite. And you got to just learn how to handle the stress and always ask someone for help if you need help. Even if it's just going next door to your neighbor, be like, hey, can you just for a second come over here and help me with my baby so I can calm down and maybe take a shower, or I don't know. Like there are resources out there.
Literally, you can go anywhere. You could go to your local church, even if you don't go to church. Go to the church with your baby and talk to one of the priests or the nuns or somebody who's always there and say, I need a few minutes to myself, whether it's to pray, to cry, to use the bathroom alone. There are places for you to go.
Yes. And if I'm going to say this too, because I needed to hear this, people were telling me the whole time and I just wouldn't hear it. But if you find yourself in my situation and your partner hurts your baby, you throw the book at them in court. Don't do what I did. Don't stand by them. Don't try to justify it. Sorry. What's up? Okay, just send him in here. I'll squeeze him. Sorry. Xerxes would like a squeeze before bed, so I'm gonna give him a squeeze. And then anyone who's here can see.
Say hi.
Yeah, we're gonna say hi to him real quick. But yeah, if you find yourself in this situation, make sure you charge. Say hi. You're gonna be shy. You have a good sleep, okay? Okay. I love you.
Oh,
good night.
I miss it. I missed it.
Yeah, he's being shy.
That's okay.
Yeah. My one regret in all of this, aside from, not coming home and taking the trash out, to put it bluntly, is standing by him because I really shouldn't have. And people were telling me, but when you're put into this situation, there's a Sean.
It's like Charlie's Angels. Who am I? Basil or whatever? I don't know. But okay, so the reason why I'm on here is because I've almost shaken babies all the time. It is.
Oh my god.
What? I mean, listen, babies are like martinis. You can shake them or you can stir them.
No. Babies are
I can feel myself losing friends.
Babies are like a good wine. You got to sometimes just leave it alone for a little while and let it calm down. Let it settle.
Okay. But But so the thing that I just wanted to mention is there is a psychology. There's like a physical thing. Nope, no, but for the most part, okay, nobody really wants to shake a baby, and um it's not like you're going, oh, I'm gonna shake you real good. I'm gonna shut you up. It doesn't happen like that at all, actually. So the way the brain works is the higher you go up in your brain and forward, that is the most developed, most sophisticated, most human part of the brain, right? So it's kind of funny that it's emotional regulation. It's your frontal cortex, just on the other side of right there. Um, that's incredibly sophisticated emotional regulation. I'm sure you guys know people that don't emotionally regulate worth shit. Uh, I got a bunch of them upstairs, and yeah. So the thing is, as somebody who has done, I've done a lot of midnights, an awful lot of midnights, an awful lot of shifts that were 10, 12, 16 hours long. Even when I wasn't doing midnights, I was still up. Basically, it was still I was still up like in the middle of the night to go to work, and I was supporting my wife who was really having a hard time. She had postpartum, um, and so I did a lot of I did a lot of the being up in the night and the day, and they're not sleeping for sometimes 2 or 3 days. And, so the thing that happens as you get more and more tired, you you begin to, shut off the things that are at the front and the top of your brain. The most sophisticated stuff, because they're the hardest to run. It's the it's like it requires the most RAM. Right? The most energy, the most all that stuff. And so as you're tired, you're going on however many, couple hours of sleep or whatever, you start to lose your emotional regulation, but you can still kind of hold on and you're like, God, I'm just so tired. And then, maybe you get a second wind and all that stuff, but you start to lose it. And then you start to go down, farther down, farther down, farther back. And your brain is literally shutting off piece by piece by piece by piece, and it's doing that out of survival. It happens to all humans, whether it be Katie, myself, or Barack Obama. Maybe not Obama. He's probably a lizard person anyways. But the point is, it happens to everyone involuntarily. And so you get to a part where your brain has mostly shut off and you're actually almost like living off of the like the very top part of your spine, where your brain meets your spine. There's like a mini second brain there, and they call that like your lizard brain. It's like the most like primeval like part of you, and that is the only thing that's keeping, like, at that point you're not even human. You're basically a walking, talking Komodo dragon. It's messed up, but that's how it is, because you know it's saying sleep now, and it is the only thing that you can listen to do, because the rest of your brain it's off. Like there's something called micro sleep, where your brain will actually shut off, and it will steal sleep from you, 1 second here, 1 second there, and just so you don't die. And and so this you know base of your brain is basically, it's turned you into an animal. And so you got that kid screaming, and they're screaming, or they're whatever, and you're trying to do whatever, and it's harder and harder to go through the checklist. Are you hungry? Do you need to be changed? Do you have gas? All of the things you're supposed to do? It's this simple checklist that you go over and over and over and over, because one of these days you're going to pump their legs just correct, and that little gas bubble is going to go away. or whatever, or maybe it's just colic and because God hates you, that kind of thing. And so,
Sean,
all
God does not hate anybody.
well, yeah, fuck, you gave me 4 autistic kids. Anyways, okay, he's trying not to die. Anyway, so what happens is like all of a sudden, from out of nowhere, from absolutely out of nowhere, it's almost like a flash. From out of nowhere, the baby's crying. It's almost like a flash, and it's like you're almost watching yourself do this thing, and you can stop it, but the problem is you're 10, 15, 20 seconds behind the action happening. And so by the time the thing is done, you're like, oh shit, I've caught up, and this is a really big mistake, that kind of thing. And I mean, I've experienced that before, and I mean, I haven't shaken anybody, but at that moment, I'm like, oh, they're in danger, and I've put them down. I'm like, I need to go make a cup of tea. You're gonna have to cry. And I was lucky that I was able to sort of catch up with my actions that were happening. And I put them down. I'm like, bro, you're gonna have to fucking cry. You're gonna be dead if I keep parenting you. And I need to go have a Coke and smile or something. And that's the thing. So I mean, it's not. I'm not. I don't want it to at all come across as I'm not saying it's okay to shake babies.
Sympathetic to the abuser.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, some people, they're I don't know. Some people shake a baby and then go, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, no. If you fuck up, you got to fix that as fast as possible. You can't just let your child just die in your arms because you might get in trouble or something. Like, I mean, you've caused a medical emergency. You have to unemergency that as fast as possible. Just letting it just play out, being like, I don't know, it wasn't me, I didn't do nothing. That's fucked up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
lack of sleep is a huge reason for that. I mean, when my son was diagnosed at 8.5 with type 1 diabetes, I was 8.5 months pregnant with my daughter. So through the whole thick of it, when I got home from the hospital, I had a 8-year-old child with type 1 diabetes who I had to do finger pokes every 3 hours for, on top of nursing a newborn with a husband who works 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. shifts. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I get it. And exactly, when I talked to my doctor and I was like, sometimes I don't know what to do, and I was afraid to ask that first question because I was like, they're going to take my kids away. They're not. I promise you. Just say, I don't know what to do. Can you help me figure out? Maybe you need to talk to a psychiatrist. Maybe you just need simple tricks and tips, you know what I mean, that have worked for other people. Maybe simple things is just the doctor telling you to put the baby in the crib, shut the door, and take a walk outside. The baby's going to be fine. The baby can cry, but that's okay. You got to remove yourself from that situation, and it's okay to do that.
Yeah, and so that's so I mean, some people who shake babies, obviously they're bad because I mean, her ex-husband was just like, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But sadly, I think because it's a sad situation. If you do shake a baby and you hurt the baby, even if you're a really good person, there's got to be punishment. There's got to be consequences.
100%.
You can't because you just can't go hurting people, even accidentally. You just can't go hurting people because that little quick hot flash and that mistake that you couldn't quite stop has altered somebody's life quite significantly, almost maybe to the point you've ended it, or maybe you've just it's going to be a long life that they have, hopefully, and maybe you've just put it, you fucked it up a little bit. Point is that's a consequence that has to be paid for. So I mean, with the harsher sentences that should 100% be there. I'm not at all, my explanation is not in any way suggesting they shouldn't be there. I'm just saying there's a reason why it happens, and it can happen to anyone. So with harsher sentences, I mean, definitely people need to understand that sort of it can happen to anybody. This isn't a thing where it's like, well, that won't happen to me. Cassie, it can happen to you too, girl. I know you're fantastic, but you,
Yep.
I mean,
This is
everyone's
not a
human.
rich, poor, white, black, Chinese. Yep, everyone is human. It doesn't matter where
So
you
it
come
always
from in
needs
life.
to, it always needs to be said that this is an entirely preventable thing. And I
Mhm.
think that's why there, obviously, and that's another reason why there has to be punishment, because it's entirely preventable. You have to put the baby down. You have to go make yourself a cup of tea. You have to go, because the baby's safe in his crib, right? The
Mhm.
baby's safe. If they're screaming or
Yep.
whatever, that is like a safe space. Go walk the dog if you have to.
Mhm.
Go have a smoke on the porch. I mean,
Mhm.
maybe don't smoke anymore, right? I mean, but the point is, go make a tea, go for coffee, or consequently, just let the baby cry for a few minutes, go have a nap on the couch or something. Like
Yep.
it is entirely preventable. Don't do a terrible thing that you one will regret,
And
two
guys,
will maybe get you thrown into jail for longer if we get our way,
Mhm.
and that kind of thing. That's all
and
I
and
wanted to
and
say.
sometimes babies cry for no reason.
Oh God, yeah.
Just like
Very
you're having a bad day, they have a bad day. They
Mhm.
could be hungry. I mean, not hungry. They could be fed. They could be changed. They have regulations and nervous systems, and they get overloaded. Just simple noises, flashes of lights, TVs in the background, you talking, walking. If you have a dog barking, they're gonna get unregulated just like you do.
Yep. And
They
one
just
other
can't
thing,
tell you.
if you do find yourself where you go out of your body and then you come back and realize that you accidentally did a shitty thing, you got to just own up to it because
100%.
yeah, had I not come home, if I had worked a 12-hour shift, my son would have died because my ex didn't take him. He had no, I don't know, maybe it's different for moms, but Sean can answer this question. Do you have you have a parental instinct where you know when
No.
something's wrong?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. I mean, well,
Okay.
so yes, but so here is an interesting thing, and maybe I don't know if I don't know, maybe Jay can back me up. Who else is the dad in chat? ETN, he's a dad. Maybe he knows, but um I have no connection to the baby when the baby's born. I it's I mean, I am so deeply connected to all of my children. Like I would crawl through broken glass for every one of them. But in in the beginning, a mom is like, you've spent 9 months growing the damn thing,
Mhm.
and when it comes
I
out,
still know when my kids are wrong.
God, that fucking baby is ugly. Like newborn babies are just the ugliest fucking thing. Oh, he's so adorable. No, he's not. He's like a little alien thing. That's
Yep.
not cute. I mean, it's
Yeah.
gonna ask to probe my butthole and see my leader. I mean, it's not adorable.
I look like a frog. My mom used to call me a frog. I was like
Well,
three and
not
a
a
half
whole
pounds,
fucking
like
does it.
16
Just
inches long.
But
Oh,
so fathers don't have that connection right away. We know what we need to do, and we know that there needs to be protection. We know that's our baby, and often we're more concerned about the mom than the baby. And it's just that's not there. I mean, there's love, but there isn't the same love that you know moms have, and it's
oh,
it's
I can
actually
still sense it. If my
it's
kids are
it's
having a
over.
bad day, even if they're not here, sorry, I'm talking over you. Go ahead.
It's over a couple of months. I mean, it happens fast. It's steady. It's like a big, it's a big steady growth over, a short amount of time that we develop all the same love and feelings and instincts and whatnot that moms have. I mean, moms have had quite a head start, but in the beginning, when the baby comes out, you're like, I mean, I know I care about that thing, but I mean, what the fuck do I know?
I will tell you, my husband definitely bonded with my girls quicker. Like you said,
I wouldn't know anything about that.
You wouldn't know, no. But moms definitely have mommy intuition. Like I can literally sit there and I'll be just doing something and I'd be like, something's wrong. And I'll just text one of my kids. I'm like, are you okay? And they're like, how did you know? And I'm like, I just know these things. You sense it, you feel it. And they'll even look at you and be like, nah, it's fine. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then like an hour later, they'll come and sit on the side of your bed and be like, they may not talk about that one subject that's bothering them. They'll slowly get there, but they eventually get there. And they're like, you're right.
I think now maybe I'm crazy. I could be. I think they're in like little families, especially if it's like a tight knit kind of like a tight knit little family. I think there's like a psychic connection to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I think that is because my kids can't talk.
But so,
But I know, and they ask me for things, but I can't talk, so I have to like psychically know it, and it's weird how it happens. And I want to point out this from Chris. Well, I'm glad he's still in the chat here because he's also he's an excellent father to a daughter. Maybe I'm the only dad that had that connection, or maybe it's because I had a girl, but I was all about my kid from day one. I'm still obsessed with her. We have a great bond.
I really think there's a difference. I know. I mean, my son and my hubby, they talk all the time, but you can see a difference. When they say daddy's little girl, it's 100% daddy's little girl. Sorry, Sean.
I never got to have one.
I know.
Apparently, all my little swimmers are boys. That's fine, I guess. It's fine.
It's all your fault, though.
It is.
It is. It's 100%. Yeah. Like you can't even blame it on your lovely wife. It's 100% your fault.
Yeah.
But I do know that depending on what is going on in the world, and this is kind of weird, if there is an active war going on, for some reason, there are more male babies born than females during a year of war.
Oh, great. So we can send them to die or something.
I don't know why, but
is it because boys are more robust? So I have just answer Cass. I have 4 sons with my current wife, and I have 1 son with my ex-wife. I don't. Sadly, I don't see him anymore. But so I've produced 5 male offspring because
you have your own army.
Because I could never have a girl. Apparently, it's tragic.
I think God was like, if I give you a girl, she's going to have everything she wants, and she's going to be a spoiled brat.
Probably, I'd buy her a pony.
You would not be able to tell her no, because that's the hardest thing for my hubby is to tell the girls no.
I can't do it. I can't. I couldn't, and it's probably for the best. But yeah, from my one son, he had a bald spot right, like in his head right here. You know how babies sort of like lose their hair and all that stuff. It was right here because he would only sleep on my chest, snuggle up right into my neck like this. Oh. And so it was actually my chin causing the bald spot on his head. He needed to be right up like this. And that's the only way he would do it. Otherwise, he would cry. And he would cry, and he would cry, and he would cry, and he would cry, and he'd cry. And my wife was useless because she couldn't get him to do anything. It was only me. He right up into my neck like that. And so I had to like put like Netflix on. This was when like putting Netflix on phones was hard, and at that time I had a BlackBerry, and you couldn't easily do it, and um, so I like did that, and I would just basically watch shows all night long, staying awake because this little baby would be always moving and flopping and all this stuff, and so
Night,
yeah,
Chris.
I made do. Good night, buddy. And yeah, that's what like a dad has to do. Being a dad's not always the easiest, but you know what
No,
I will say is great about
'cause
being
you
a
deal
dad.
with crying babies and the crying wife, and that's got to be hard when you can't console both of them.
Yeah. So okay, all right. So postpartum depression is weird.
It is.
It's
I've had it
because I mean
twice.
I mean it's probably awful for the woman. Granted, no argument here, but from the man's perspective, you have to be like, "Hey, honey, how are you doing? Should you be holding those scissors?"
Listen,
I know you're cutting the corner off the milk bag, but why are the scissors on your neck? What's going on?
it's rough.
That kind of stuff, right? And it's just like
My yeah, it's a weird feeling because some moms have that instant bond as soon as they're born, and for other moms, sometimes it takes some time. It's a big adjustment. Your body has all these hormones, and then all of a sudden the baby's born, and boom, the hormones are gone. So it's like a dopamine high to the lowest you've ever been because those hormones are just like ripped out of you. My son was amazing. When he came home, he would take his last bottle at 11 p.m. at night, sleep till like 7 a.m., wake up, take another bottle, and then go back to sleep until like 10. So he slept. So there was no reason for me to be like weird. And I remember calling my husband. He was a roofer. He was working down the street, and I said, "You need to come home." He's like, "Why?" And I'm like, I can't do it anymore. Like, I don't want him. I didn't have any feelings of hurting him. I didn't have any of that. His mom lived with us. She was amazing. She would walk him around. Oh, she was the best mother-in-law ever. And he was easy. But that feeling of I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want him. That's like the hardest feeling to have, you know what I mean? So you just go through all those emotions, and eventually once my hormones regulated, about a month later, it was fine. But it's a weird feeling of not wanting your own kid, not to hurt them or harm them. It was just
like
I
you're
was
uninterested.
I was
It's like
20. I was 20 years old. I was like, I had him a week before my 21st birthday.
It's like when I made Ren his dinner yesterday or the day before, and he was sick, and he walked over and he looked at me and he pushed his plate away like this, not even breaking eye contact, just pushed it away and then walked back to the couch. It's like that, but with a baby.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want this. What am I going to do with this? You take it.
Yeah. Yeah. And he came home. He didn't say 2 words. He came in, gave me a kiss on my forehead, picked him up, brought him out to the living room, told me to take a nap. And I said, okay. And that was it. And then it was, like I said, I talked to my doctor, and he was like, give it time. It'll be okay.
My wife would,
I'm like, okay.
She would say really fucked up things to me. Like, I don't know if she knew that the things coming out of her mouth were like causing like these like alarm flashing lights in my head to fucking, go off or whatever. She would talk about how, she's just going to go have a bath and, maybe she'll slip underneath and not come out again. I'm like, what the fuck are you saying? It was crazy stuff. And then then I'd be like, okay, you know what? You need to chill. And I'll check on you every. I mean, how long does it take you to drown? But I'll check on you every 6 minutes. And and yeah. So then it would be me with the babies. I mean, at one point there was 2 of them, right? Elliot and Ren are 11 months apart.
That's tough.
Irish twins, don't you know? And yeah, so I'd have them both because my wife was so fucked up. And yeah, so then there was no sleep because then, Elliot would be crying in the night. And so then I'd be up with Elliot. And then finally I'd get Elliot back down. But then, Rennie would start crying. And then I'd have to get Rennie back down. And then these both babies, they were like, great, my turn to scream. I'm like, Daddy needs to sleep. Daddy's dying. Daddy's dying right now. And listen, if Daddy dies, I don't know what Mommy's going to do to you. So yeah, anyways, that's I've had the point of all of this story is I've had many a times where my brain has shut off and I've had the white flash of it's time to die, and then I'm like, whoa, wait, you're gonna go have a tea. And
Mr. Scott Awesome sent $1 Rumble rant in and said, "Milk bags reference deserves $1. Never forget the milkers."
That's right, Katie's milkers, everybody. Katie's got a pair of tits on her. That Katie's milkers. That's right.
And here we go.
I
Sean has a way of making tough topics easier to handle.
It's almost like I have a channel dedicated to third rail issues. Anyway, I didn't mean to steal the show or derail it or anything. If you haven't signed the petition, do it. Babies' lives are literally depending on you. But yeah, I just wanted to explain the why and the how that it happens, and that it can happen to a good person, it can happen to a bad person. Even if you're strong-willed, it can literally happen to anybody. It's all entirely preventable, and even if it's an accident, you still need to go to jail for a long time because you're fucking up a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, babies should be stirred, not shaken.
I love how you can just, laughter is the best medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can't. You know what? When you're that tired, and you're gonna shake a human. You can't find laughter. Oh, I would make the darkest of jokes, and then they were funny, but I wasn't even laughing at my own dark jokes. I'm like, oh my god, when you don't laugh at your own dark jokes, it just sounds evil. Oh my god. So, anyways, I'm gonna pop off so you guys can finish your show. I just wanted to explain that because I think it's important to understand how that happens in the body. But if anyone is interested, that's a shameless plug. I'll be on a show a little bit later in the next hour called Insert Title Here. It's fun. We're gonna reminisce about TV shows and what was your favorite and how could shows have ended better. It's a little bit of a nerd show. It's gonna be great. But yeah, so in the next hour I'll be there. So I love you all. I'm gonna pop off and let the ladies continue being classy.
Just hold on. Well, I think because I have to take the dog outside. So I think we're just gonna wrap it up. So you might as well just stay for a minute. And why don't you, Caitlin? I do like calling you Katie better.
That's fine.
It's
you call me whatever you want.
Her name is Katie. You know why it's Katie? Because I've started the Katie revolution. And you know what? She hasn't fought it because she can't. Because it's so much easier. Because she looks like a Katie.
No, I don't.
You look like a Caitlin. You know why? Because Caitlin, 1, drinks tea. 2, doesn't look like she's fallen into a bowl of hooks. And 3, isn't in love with Russian death metal rap stuff and the death penalty. She rides horses.
Well,
out my bedroom window, Caitlin. I'll send a picture tomorrow when the sun's awake and I'm awake. But right out my bedroom window, there's a horse farm. I can literally watch the horsies from my bedroom window.
Oh, that's awesome. There's actually people with horses in my neighborhood too, which is weird because I'm in the middle of a city. And so are you. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, exactly. So why don't you, again, guys, please share everywhere this petition. You go into church on Sunday, take your phone out, ask the people sitting in your pew, after prayer time, before prayer time, to sign the petition. And you tell one person, you tell three, and they tell three, and before you know, we'll get this going. Caitlin, why don't you plug it one more time in your channel?
Yeah, so for anybody who's not here in the beginning, I have a murder podcast. As Sean said, I'm a little obsessed with the death penalty. I cover true crime cases, mostly death penalty cases, but once in a while, there's just like I did a missing person case from Utah. Yeah, so that's what I do. That comes out every Friday, and then on Thursday nights, if Sean doesn't come derail my show, I read news articles.
I love giving her a good derailing, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, every time Sean's there, it just turns into a buttered sausage fest, and I love doing it. But yeah, please sign and share my petition. I need all the help I can get at this point. We got to make a change. There is no reason that somebody who nearly killed a baby should only be sitting in jail for a year. It's insane to me. But yeah, my channel is the Last Meal Podcast. I'm on X and Instagram at Last Meal Pod. Yeah, so if you like true crime, I'm your guy.
If I can just again interrupt, because it's you know what just kind of like struck my brain here. I'm looking at Xerxes here. A side note from my side note, Katie's children, they all have the best names. The best. The bravery of naming your daughter Aryan because she's superior. You know what I mean? Right. You said about not getting a lot of time in jail for nearly killing a baby, and then I thought to myself, but think of all those people that then do kill a baby, and then they get a high five. Referring to abortion.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But because there wasn't a whole lot of difference between this and a baby that's still still in the oven. You know what I mean? Anyways, that just popped into my head, and I just
yeah.
That's all.
That's all. Now plug your channel. Plug your channel, where you are again tonight, and what you're doing tomorrow.
Everyone in this chat probably knows who I am. I mean,
That's okay. I have people on replay.
I
hopefully
you do. Oh, maybe. I don't know. But anyways, hello everybody. My name is Sean. I run the Third Railify channel, and you should follow me at Third Railify on YouTube, at Third Railify on Twitter, and here on Rumble. Although this is also out on YouTube, but at Third Railify on Rumble. And if you're watching this on replay, then you can't possibly watch me live tonight at 12:30 p.m. at the show that I'm going to be on. The show called Insert Title Here. That I'm going to put in the chat. See, if you're on the replay, you suck. Do it live. Anyways, that's all. Suck.
There goes my internet. No, Gina needs to get some emojis going. I know, I'm a slacker there. All right, so I want you to think. I know. We're looking at you, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
we're just gonna.
I have to get you emojis.
Our eyelashes at you.
Okay, first of all, I made both of your channels happen. I've made both of your intros. I've made I haven't made you any thumbnails, Gina, but Katie, your thumbnails, your overlays, outros.
Mm-hmm. And I appreciate you.
Your channels exist entirely because of me. And I'm happy I did it, because the world needs more of you too.
It was fun. We definitely have to do this more often.
I see.
But we gotta
I see
work
102 signatures. So that's like 12, then 12 more in this stream, which is great.
Yes, that's crazy. Oh my God, that's crazy.
and we'll get it out there. I know people will definitely share that.
Am
So
I allowed
you
to
guys
sign it,
know
even though
me.
I'm not in your country?
Yeah, you should be able to.
Give
I
it a
don't see
shot.
why you wouldn't.
I know,
should
but
be able
if
to.
a Canadian signs your Utah position, your petition, is Spencer Cox gonna go like, he's a Canadian? What the fuck do I care? What he has
No,
to think?
he'd probably be like, "Oh, look, this petition has reached outside the U.S." Like Jay said, he signed it,
Yeah.
I believe. So,
I know. I didn't want to take away legitimacy from it. That's all.
yeah, no, it helps. Every signature helps. Yeah.
Well, then I better sign it right now. Then 103. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
You did very well. I know you were super nervous, but you crushed it. You were
I'm so
wonderful.
glad.
So you did good. I hope you're not as nervous now.
I'm
now that
still
the
a
show's
little
like
nervous.
ending, but
I'm a little starstruck still, but I'll be all right. I'll be all right.
Oh, I want to point out
Aw.
one last thing.
There
Wait,
comes Sean.
I need to get my Canadian Geographic wildlife calendar out.
Canadian Geographic, is that like National Geographic but for Canucks?
Was it just
Yes.
wolves and
No,
more wolves?
no. This month is the Arctic fox. Arctic
What
fox.
does the
Anyways,
fox
the reason.
say? Ding, 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 ding.
Anyways, the reason why I have grabbed for my Canadian Geographic wildlife calendar is that March 29th, my guest will be the Katie of the Last Meal podcast. I just wanted to point that out. My guest for Saturday Night Off the Rails is Katie of the Last Meal podcast. I'm sure we'll talk about some death penalty stuff. Like a dude just got fucking blown away in
South Carolina.
Firing squad death. That's
Yep.
cool. So we'll probably talk about that stuff. So, look for that on Saturday the 29th.
I'm excited. I actually took a week off of work so I could be there.
And I'll have to have you on again, and we'll have some
Yes.
true crime on that one.
Anytime.
That'll be fun.
Oh my God, is that the mystery?
I think
That'll
that's
be
the
the
mayhem.
mystery. Yeah, or mayhem. Yeah, mysteries or conspiracies. I feel mayhem. That can be a bit of everything. So again, I want to thank you guys for all joining. If you guys are watching this on replay, please smash it, subscribe it, share it, sign that petition, share that petition everywhere. Make sure to follow these wonderful, beautiful guests over here. My normal time are generally Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern Central Time. This Sunday, Sean may or may not make an appearance. He hasn't given me a definitive
I
yet.
have only been playing hard to get like some floozy high school girl. You know I'll be on if you want me on. And yes, Cassie, tomorrow Handy is my guest. Just Handy.
Yes,
we're gonna talk about some spicy news or something.
Yeah. Spicy. So Sunday I will be on. I took a deep dive into the Denver airport. Holy shit, that place is fucking weird. It's super exciting. So you get to see Gina twice this weekend. And then we'll take it from there. So again, follow me, Mom's Mystery and Mayhem on YouTube and Rumble. You can also find me on Twitter. I will always call it Twitter, at Shorty, SHRTY 7081, because I'm short and that's what I've always been called. So go ahead, have some fun with that. Just behave, and we will catch you all on the flip side. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Peace.
Stop the boat!
We're there.
Where?
Here. A small step for mankind, but a giant step for us.